After looking at the title of this video, the date it was uploaded, and double checking the current year, you may be wondering, Ms. Fox, why do you care that they didn't port Kirby Air Ride to the 3DS? I'll admit, it's a bit of an odd fixation on my part. The console's been out of production since 2020, and the game is old enough that it can legally enjoy a nice bottle of Moscato. Odd timing aside, this is a truth that I've held within my heart for quite some time. Now that I actually have a channel where I can upload my thoughts, I hope that you too will be convinced of this truth. Firstly, let's get some background knowledge out of the way. Released in 2003, Kirby Air Ride is a party racing game for the Nintendo GameCube. According to the internet, the game received mostly average review scores, possibly due to comparisons with the contemporary Mario Kart and F-Zero releases. If this is to be believed, I'd argue that these comparisons were highly unfair. Looking at the Air Ride and Top Ride modes, it's easy to see where a player would draw comparisons to other racing games and come out of it feeling like they experienced the lesser game. Both game modes feature standard, somewhat simplistic racing. Air Ride is a typical behind-the-vehicle racing mode with some pretty well-executed concepts and designs for tracks. By contrast, Top Ride pulls back the camera to a top-down perspective that gives you a full view of the more simplistic track design. These modes don't match the aesthetics and frantic feeling of Mario Kart, nor do they require even a fraction of the skill and precision F-Zero demands from its players. But you see, as fun as Air Ride mode can be, and as existent as Top Ride mode is, you would be sorely mistaken if you assumed either were the main attraction. The real name you should know, yes, the true star of the show, is City Trial. That might seem confusing considering Air Ride is literally the name of the game, and perhaps that misnomer is what led to the game being misunderstood in its time. However, if you've actually sat down with the game, then you know full well that City Trial is top banana. But what is City Trial? City Trial is the game's secret tutorial that teaches you how to play the game without ever saying a word. City Trial is a battle royale party game where you and your closest friends roam around in your vehicles trying to build up your stats, find better vehicles, and beat the pudding out of each other until you test your might in a randomly picked contest. City Trial is a sandbox exploration game where you can hunt for secrets as you learn more about the world. City Trial is a mode for just screwing around. City Trial is what the game should have been called, but perhaps Nintendo thought the title might evoke the image of Kirby facing legal proceedings in an urban courthouse. Let's back up a bit so I can actually explain what I'm talking about. In Kirby Air Ride, your main mode of transportation are what's known as air ride machines. Air ride machines are an assortment of vehicles, both grounded and hovering, which all have their own unique stats and capabilities. Some are more suited for fast travel on the ground, while others excel at gliding long distances. In Air Ride mode, picking an Air Ride machine is equivalent to picking your character kart combo in Mario Kart, affecting your handling and advantage states. In City Trial, the Air Ride machines still have the same base stats, but those don't have to be the stats you're stuck with. Everyone starts with the same basic star in City Trial, but through hunting for different Air Ride machines and picking up different stat boosters, everyone usually ends up with wildly different results. The eponymous city is deceptively simple, like many things in the game. You can get from one corner of the map to the opposite corner in a matter of seconds, and the different sections of the map are fairly small. However, as you continue to explore and search for stat boosts, you'll find that there are a lot of secrets to find. There's a bunch of interconnected underground areas, various events that change things about the city, a floating platform in the sky, and hey, I wonder what happens if I fly into that star. The city is designed to look and feel so simple and inviting to encourage you to just screw around. There's plenty of depth for you to find should you want a more competitive experience, But for a new player, City Trial is a brilliant secret tutorial that encourages you to learn the game simply by giving you the freedom to screw around and see what happens. There are ramps to the underground, which also act as launching ramps, giving you ample opportunities to learn exactly how gliding works and which vehicles are capable of utilizing it. Stat pickups are simple icons that communicate what they affect with no words necessary. And even if you're unsure, some words will pop up to help build that association. There's all kinds of cracked walls and floors, as well as destructible objects, that virtually beg you to see what happens when you break them. The controls help this screwing around mentality immensely. Everything can be done with either the control stick or the A button. The controls are so simple you could play the game with an Atari joystick. While this kind of minimalist button use can be detrimental in other games, Kirby Air Ride walks right up to the line where simplistic controls become clunky, stares it down, does a stylish backflip, and never crosses the line. The game has just the right amount of moves mapped to the controller, and it's so easy to pick up that no explanation I could give you would help you understand it better than simply playing a round of City Trial. I would argue that Kirby Air Ride is the textbook example of the pick-up-and-play mentality Nintendo strive for in many of their games. And again, that simplicity encourages you to screw around and learn things. You screw around in City Trial and learn how all the vehicles work. You don't know what the ending minigame will be when you drop in, so the vehicles and stats you gravitate towards are vibes-based until the game gives you a hint. The game sinks its hooks into you, and that screwing around gives way to more serious hunting for vehicles, stat pickups, and secrets. You start becoming a box-breaking fiend, gobbling up all the stat pickups you can when suddenly you see it. A mysterious item that doesn't seem to do anything. You keep playing rounds, picking up more and more of these strange items until suddenly you've found it, the ultimate secret, a legendary air ride machine. All this screwing around, all this secret hunting, it's always benefiting you. Between rounds, you find you're unlocking achievements for performing different tasks, and you get hints on how to unlock more of those achievements to direct your screwing around and encourage you to keep playing. And the best part is that all of this is just as fun with friends or against the computer players. Screw around with your friends and you can find new secrets together. Screw around by yourself and you can unlock new player colors and other things for when your friends come back. City Trial is pretty close to a perfect game on its own. Combine that with the decent execution of Air Ride mode and the presence of Top Ride, and Kirby Air Ride is a pretty great package on the Nintendo GameCube. And I look back on this game. My memories of screwing around in City Trial, the times I played the game with acquaintances in after-school care. And I think to myself, why wasn't this game on 3DS? The Nintendo 3DS was something of a middle school graduation present for me, and that time I spent in early high school with my 3DS would have been prime time for a port of Air Ride. I remember firsthand how little there was to do on a launch model 3DS. I was regularly playing Face Raiders and using those AR cards because of how much nothing there was in the library. Sure, I got to pick up Mario and eventually Star Fox, but for a long while the system was something I owned for its potential rather than its library. Kirby Air Ride could have changed all that simply through smart utilization of the system's features. Imagine a straight port of Kirby Air Ride with local wireless play, 3DS download play, and online matchmaking through Nintendo Network. I vividly remember wishing through all of high school for Air Ride to come to 3DS. Executed correctly, Air Ride could have been positioned as the must-have multiplayer game for early 3DS adopters. I certainly would have been evangelizing the good word of City Trial to anyone who'd listen, and I'd most definitely have kept my 3DS on me at all times, just like the Pokewalker during middle school. Even after the rocky launch was settled, Kirby Air Ride's effortless pickup and play flow would have been perfect for the handheld console on long trips and during school lunches. As the console library filled out, it wouldn't have been as easy to justify selling it as a $40 cartridge without any new additions, but it certainly could have been a standout eShop exclusive for $15 to $20. Oh well, I guess it just wasn't meant to be. It's a good thing Nintendo never made another portable console where Kirby Air Ride would fit perfectly as a multiplayer experience. Now, obviously, the Nintendo Switch is a whole other animal when compared to the 3DS. It did not struggle at launch like the 3DS did, nor was it ever lacking a quintessential game to demonstrate its features, ease of play, or multiplayer capabilities. This does not change the fact that Air Ride should be on Switch. When Kirby's Dream Buffet came to Nintendo Switch, I remember feeling a pang of disappointment, like the game was taking up the $20 eShop exclusive spot that was meant for Air Ride. Dream Buffet is fun in its own right, but if Air Ride was derided for its simplistic execution, then why should this game get a pass for being more simplistic and having fewer features? Dream Buffet has just the singular racing mode with minigames between tracks, and asks you to execute much less with its simplified control scheme. The clear focus is on the online multiplayer, to the detriment of the single-player and local multiplayer experience. I really can't help but feel an Air Ride port would have made much more sense at that price point, since the game has more to offer and a higher skill ceiling for players to hit. The game still could have facilitated online multiplayer through matchmaking in each of the modes, local wireless multiplayer, and local split screen. Seriously, Air Ride seems almost tailor-made for the Switch in kickstand mode, since the controls would flawlessly support you and a friend playing with single Joy-Cons. Other racing games like Mario Kart 8 feel a little cramped in single Joy-Con mode, but Air Ride requires only one button. I've long wished for it to come to Switch because it would absolutely be my go-to game for events, family gatherings, and trips to the laundromat. Now, if Nintendo wanted to charge more than $20 for a port of Air Ride, we would need to see a bit more effort. As the price approaches a full $60, or even a budget $40, the game starts to look pretty lean in its offerings. However, this shouldn't be too hard to remedy. For a budget port, adding more tracks and maps should help to increase the value proposition. City Trial should now consist of at least 5 cities to keep the game from feeling stale on repeat playthrough, and the number of tracks available for racing should probably double in Air Ride and, yes, even in Top Ride. I think the Air Ride machine should stay the same, but maybe we can add more unlockable characters for Air Ride modes? King DDD and Meta Knight were the only extra characters at the time, so maybe HAL can go back and add some other fan favorites. For a full-priced edition, some bigger changes will need to be made. In addition to the previous changes mentioned, a graphical update would help tremendously in selling the game as a modern experience. The aesthetic changes in Return to Dreamland going from Wii to Switch is the standard we want to hit. There also needs to be a big new selling point. Online and local wireless multiplayer are a baseline requirement to justify even a $20 eShop port, so we need to think bigger. My proposal is a 99 mode for City Trial. Nintendo, for some reason, love to have massive multiplayer versions of games on their online service. They did it with Tetris, Pac-Man, F-Zero, and Super Mario Bros. To make this Kirby Air Ride remaster worth its $60 asking price, they're going to need to pull out the same magic for City Trial. Perhaps in testing, 99 will be too many players and the number will have to drop down somewhere more reasonable. But the target still needs to be a massive scale multiplayer experience. For City Trial 99, the game picks from 2 or 3 large scale cities to drop all the players into. Instead of a timer that counts down to the ending minigame, there will be elimination events at regular intervals. Players will be asked to pick up items, deal damage to a boss, or simply survive for a set time, and the lowest ranking players will be booted out. The City Trial continues until 8 to 16 players remain, and then the players are moved to the end minigame as normal. This 99 mode adds a huge amount of replay value, a place for a competitive scene to thrive, and potentially an avenue for continuous content updates should Nintendo be so inclined. and none of it takes away from the core experience of the original Kirby Air Ride package. This would be a dream game for me, and I would constantly harass my Switch-owning friends about it until they acquiesced and bought a copy. With the Nintendo Switch successor approaching at unclear speeds, it appears that the sun will soon set on the opportunity for my dream Kirby Air Ride Remaster on Switch. Reportedly, the Switch successor will be backwards compatible with the Switch, and my assumption is that it will be a part of the Switch family of systems, like the DS and 3DS, or the Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance. This means that while the sun may set on Nintendo's second golden opportunity for a Kirby Air Ride port, a third golden opportunity is surely on the horizon. I highly doubt Nintendo plan on abandoning the single Joy-Con feature, local wireless play, or the Switch's hybrid nature. So for the third time, I will probably be saying that Kirby Air Ride would be perfect on the current Nintendo console. I suppose that's good news, because we all know what they say about the third time. But what do you think? Have I successfully convinced you of the glory of our Lord and Savior, Kirby Air Ride? Have you also shared my pain for the past 13 years? Would you become a dedicated City Trial 99 streamer alongside me? Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you'll watch again in the next video. Until then, if you want to have a chance to play Kirby Air Ride, my door is always open. Simply drive on down to 1600 Pennsylvania.